So, time to pause on the troops, tanks and cavalry and do some characters.
I have character.
Of course you are a character. Doesn't mean that you have character.
And I think I'm going to get my Psykers done. This was really easy. Station Forge have a grand model called the Curator, and this bad boy will be my Primaris Psyker, so he will have a slightly bigger base than the others. And after painting an entire Tyranid army and all the Krieg so far, this will be my first ever go at doing real human skin. Admittedly, it's just a glimpse of this guy's bald head, but hey! Also, I found some nice free models on Thingiverse, nice and simple, a Kriegsman with a staff and some extra insignia. Actually, from a lore perspective, this is pretty effective. With the gas mask, you don't have to be distracted by those scorched dead sockets where their eyeballs used to be. Okay, not much in the way of assembly, they come out of the vat solid and as is. So a spray of Citadel Chaos Black primer and a base coat of Abaddon Black before breaking out the Thunderhawk Blue. A dry brush, medium sized, a little dip into the paint, wipe off the excess on the lip of the pot and then shed a little more with a few swipes while rotating the brush on the back of my thumb. Paper towels are okay for this, the cutting board is a bit better, but for some reason, warm human flesh seems to be the best. Citadel paints, designed by zombies.
And they feed only on warm human flesh.
Then, swipes across the flowing robes, the wrinkles in the fabric, the boots, the webbing and the straps and containers. Afterwards, onto the Dawnstone, and a little touch of the paint on all the areas that got the blue, giving them a nice accent. Now, these guys are even more the Emperor's boys than the other troops, so they get a bit more snazzy, via some Gehenna's gold layer, delicately applied to the eye and the Aquila on their staffs, and for the Primaris on the Aquila on his breastplate. And because he is the top dog, how about on his pauldrons as well? Then the Iron Hand Steel, a dry brush to the staff, the pipes, the helmets, the backpack, the foldable shovel on the Astropaths, and of course on their pistols. Corn red on the Astropath pauldrons and on the Primaris Psyker's sash, and on top of this a wash of Carroburg Crimson to give the plates more shade and to bring out the rivets and to catch the ripples on the sash. Now, while I'm making things stand out and pop, the golden Aquilas. I tried a dry brush of Golden Griffin Dry, but it just didn't go far enough. See, on the Primaris, it just makes it a little too light. I kind of like the more brazen shade. So, what worked a treat here was to go back over with the Gehenna and once dry, a wash of Seraphim Sepia shade. This watery mix settled nicely in the details and in the iris. Much nicer. And then a much lighter hint of Golden Griffin just to catch a few edges. And then some touches of Nuln oil along the corrugated pipes to bring back the detail along them and on some of the areas that got the Iron Hand Steel base. Now, on to Baldy. A gentle application of Cadian flesh tone to the head and the ears, and once dry, a simple application of Reichland flesh shade that pulled up nicely against the gas mask and straps. Right, onto the base. Squirt on some Elmers, spread it around with an old brush, and then sprinkle on my red rock sand. Oh, and almost forgot, some Astro Wrath red. A very delicate dry brush just to catch some edges on the pauldrons and the red sash. And lastly, some Cadian flesh tone swept around the boots and on some of the lower hanging hems of the robes. From chucking around psychic abuse, they whip up a bit more wind than normal, and so these guys get a bit more dusty. Then, adding a few Army Painter Swamp Tufts, and then off to the box for a quick blast of varnish to protect the paint job and seal in the sand. And here we are, a pair of Death Korps of Krieg Astropaths, psychic servants of the Imperium. They are invaluable to galactic communications, but they can also manifest psychic powers to assist in battle, and more importantly, to stare into the warp, discern goals and drives, and therefore offer hints of what the future holds, allowing commanders to modify their tactics according to what the Astropaths have divined. And a Primaris Psyker, someone with no duties involving communications and divination, rather these are battle Psykers. Judged by the Scholastica Psykana as worthy of the title, they are some of the most potent Psykers that the Imperium can field, and their mastery of the warp allows them to weave powers other Astropaths cannot hope to manifest, bolstering and protecting troops, harrying the minds of the enemy, and unleashing devastation from their very fingertips.